Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here today to do the second part of the new moon in Aquarius reading. I've already put the astrology part out earlier. It's uploading right now, so hopefully it will be done by later this evening. It's still the 1st of February here in the UK, so still new moon energy. This is the tarot part of the new moon in Aquarius reading. For those of you who are interested in the astrology reading, or if you're interested in knowing more about your own astrology chart, if you don't know it already, then there will be a link for you in the description box down below for you to go and check that out. I just realised that I need something from over there, so I'm going to disappear for 2 seconds, but I will return as quick as I can. I did this earlier in my other reading. You'd think I'd know better, but I'm going to put it down to Mercury still retrograde. So that's my excuse for my lack of brain cells at the moment. First card that we have here today as our overall energy from the angel script is Raziel. So I'm going to read quickly what Raziel wants us to know, and Raziel is wisdom. So Raziel brings insight and direct perception of the deep mysteries of the cosmos. Very Aquarian energy by the sounds of things. It carries the wisdom of the ancients and the understanding of the cosmic father. It encourages us to discover for ourselves the beauty and intricate complexity of the creation. Raziel brings the book of wisdom, which contains the inner knowledge that protects and empowers us. Like a father, it imparts to us the information which enables us to make our way as independent beings. We are entrusted with this wisdom as our birthright, and we abuse it at our peril. When the Divine Father considers that the child is still too young to handle this power with consideration and respect, then the book will be hidden away. Like small children hunting for birthday gifts before the day is due, we search for the book, knowing that it is truly intended for us. Sometimes we become frustrated and angry, then we may tread without caution and create havoc. If we act destructively in our search for answers, we will suffer. The more we attempt to grasp wisdom, the more it will elude us. Raziel is the eye of illumination, very much Aquarian energy and also very Uranian energy as well. Third eye activation was something that I was talking about a little bit in my astrology reading. Kundalini energy, also very much connected to the Aquarius energy that we're having at this time. Downloads from the universe, etc. It brings a sudden light into the mind, and what was unclear becomes clarified, and what was mysterious becomes transparent. We cannot grasp this with the intellect, only with the deepest, most silent part of the mind. We understand without words, and then we attempt to communicate in whatever way we can. This wisdom needs no evidence and is not subject to analysis. Its truthfulness is apparent and is demonstrated by its usefulness. When we discover and understand this deep mystery, we are empowered to live correctly. Which is kind of where I feel we're heading at this time as we move more into this Aquarian energy. So that's an interesting card to get there. Raziel popped out very quickly during my shuffling of the cards. So let's start the actual reading. And we're starting today with the Tower in reverse, which is again more kind of Aquarius, Uranus, chaotic kind of destructive energy in a way, but it's also about releasing, breaking through something. It's about breaking out, breaking free of the structure, of the limitations that are kind of built up around us, ourselves, or which we allow to be built up around ourselves by just kind of living our lives and believing that things are a certain way. And the Tower kind of talks about a time when we get to the point where it's like being, I suppose, in some way like that cocoon or that snake that needs to shed its skin. It's like that energy of suddenly realizing, it's like a realization that something needs to change. Something needs to, if you see here, as this lightning hits this tower, there's this kind of flash here coming from that tower, and it's kind of, it reminds me of that flash of kind of inspiration, that sudden realization of what is actually like a truth in a way of how things really are, as opposed to how we believe them to be, because of all the illusions that we've built up around ourselves, the structure of who we believe we are as well. So this card is about breaking through, breaking free. And you see this person's like literally falling out of this tower, and he is naked as well, which it symbolically kind of relates to having nothing to hide anymore. Like honesty, truth, kind of a place or a space of in a way, I mean, it kind of relates to rebirth in a way as well. But we have over the top of the tower the Four of Cups, which is our blockage and our challenge. And today this is kind of coming through for me as this energy of non-acceptance, or even, because if you look here, he's wanting, or he's thinking about reaching out for this cup, which is coming out of the sky. This cup of wisdom actually is how it's coming through. This love, this wisdom that is being offered. But there is hesitation. His hand is kind of thinking about going up and accepting it. He is looking at it, but there is this hesitation. Because we don't know what it's going to give us. We don't know what it's going to bring in. So the Tower energy, I feel, is this kind of major arcana energy that we've been in for quite some time now, and we're kind of reaching that point of realization for ourselves and collectively, that we have been kind of like literally, you know, put into these towers that although we helped build them, they have also in many ways kind of been built around us without us kind of realizing that this is what has been happening. And now there is this kind of awakening. And I feel it's in reverse because it is a shock. It is something that is shocking, and I also feel as though it's been ongoing. It's a long time. But it also feels like we are coming to an end of this energy. So the Four of Cups kind of feels like it's energy of waiting to move forward. Of not being sure. That what's being offered us is going to bring us any more happiness than what we've already tasted before, in a way. Like, is it real? Is it kind of like, you know, is it a trick? Are we just going to end up going down that same path? If I accept that cup into my life, am I just going to carry on in the same situations, back at the same spot? And what's in our head and what we're aware of at this time, we also have two major arcana cards here as well. So we have the moon in reverse, and the moon in reverse for me is always about new moon energy, interestingly. So there are things that are hidden from us. There are things that we are still unaware of here with this moon energy. Things that are yet to come to the surface. Things that are yet to come to light. New moon energy is also about planting a new idea, a creative seed. It's also about cycles as well, as in like the moon has its own cycle. So it's about timing in some ways, is what's also coming through here. That you can't rush into something, that we have to allow things to grow in their own space and their own time. And we also have the Hangman here as well. And the Hangman is about a new perception. It's about seeing things from a different angle, which is why he literally hangs in reverse, or he hangs upside down, is so that he can see from a different perspective of what's taking place. But it can also be seen as a card of just waiting for things to change, like not being able to, or feeling like you can't do anything about anything, because he's literally tied up there as well. So this feeling of like not being able to be involved, like everything's happening around us rather than actually for us or with us, or that we're not actually participating. It's also kind of what's coming through here, this feeling of like not actually feeling like you can make a difference. So why bother? Why do anything in the first place? Hangman can also be about surrendering, letting go, releasing. So let's see what else comes out with that when I use the confirmation cards. The energy moving away from us here, the Eight of Swords, is about us being all tied up in our heads. And again, it's in reverse, so it's very long energy. It feels like an energy that's been around for quite some time. And it is our fears. It's us being kept in place by our fear. And for the last 2 years, we've been living in nothing but fear porn. It's literally been constantly bombarding at us. And we feel as though we are trapped. Again, this kind of, I feel as though it's very similar with this Hangman energy. Putting us in this place of not actually being able to move forward, very stuck energy. But there is, this change is happening, particularly at the time of this Aquarian new moon. There is new energy coming in, massive changes are coming. And if you listen to my astrology reading, it talks about the changes and the quickening and the acceleration that is taking place of this. I mean, basically this collapse of everything that we know, society as we know it, is all falling apart. And this kind of represents that energy as well. It's all crumbling, it's all collapsing as it's meant to be. Again, with this moon energy here as well, the cycles of time. Everything happens at the right time, even if it doesn't feel like it. So, I also feel with this Eight of Swords in reverse, because at the moment I'm seeing swords very much as these kind of for want of a better word, for me they're bioweapons really. So I'm kind of seeing it as though that kind of energy of what we're having to put into our bodies, or what people are telling us we need or being forced into taking. It's all been scare, propaganda, scaring people into believing that if they don't, then they're going to infect everybody else. It's kind of like, you know, but it's put us into this place of fear and feeling trapped and despondency and not knowing what to do next. She's literally blindfolded, her hands are tied, which kind of sums up where we've been for the last 2 odd years. And in the subconscious energy, we have this King of Wands in reverse, deep down in the subconscious. And this feels like, you know, this is what's happened, is this lack of confidence from this energy here, this undermining energy has kind of brought down our confidence and our kind of like belief in what we are capable of doing, who we are. Our creative fire and passion and drive and everything has kind of been held back, squashed, not allowed to live life the way we want to live life, or the way that we normally would live life. And so this feels on some level that it is kind of all very kind of tightly kind of held together at this time. It's like we're in this place of kind of like holding on to this suppressed creative drive and passion that's going to kind of explode at some point. This subdued confidence that is still kind of there. It's like it's not completely left us, that fire and that kind of, yeah. Fire, of course, is that energy of like, you know, once it catches light, it kind of spreads really quickly, or it can do if it's not put out. So that's kind of what I'm getting here, is this kind of fire that's kind of burning within us, this desires that we have that we've not been allowed to express. And the energy we have moving in is the Ace of Swords in reverse. And this to me feels a bit like the end of the Mercury retrograde that we're moving into very soon. On the 4th of February, Mercury will be turning direct, stationing direct, but it feels I'm kind of being drawn not so much to the sword as I am to all the kind of clouds and the confusion and the kind of all the stuff behind it. rather than the actual clouds themselves, and trying to kind of move it out of that light, which is overly bright actually at the moment. I'm just going to shift that a little bit around. Don't know if that's going to make any difference. Yeah, it does. That's good. Yeah, the Ace of Swords, swords in general, is all about the mind, the intellect, communication. So it talks about kind of holding things back, holding things in, not being able to completely express. Again, this lack of expression with this air and this fire. Something's not coming together. Something's not completely like tying up is how it feels. It's like something's not tying up. So we'll see what that's about as well. And then we have, in our situation, the Star in reverse and the Two of Wands. So the Star in reverse is that Aquarian energy. It is the water bearer pouring the water of life out of one jug into the other, or into the water. She's literally sitting in the water there. It's known as very kind of Aquarian energy, the star. It talks about hope in many ways, optimism, but it can also talk about like a date with destiny. Again, divine timing is kind of what's coming in here as well, because I'm also seeing that same kind of clockwork mechanics at the bottom of this moon energy here, which is also in this star energy. I'll turn them upright so you see them better. And there is also a kind of similarity going on there as well. Again, cycles of time. But it also feels because it's come out with this Two of Wands, and although that's in reverse, there the star's in reverse. The Two of Wands isn't in reverse. The Two of Wands is upright, and this came out to me almost like a crossroads. It's like the roads are kind of splitting into two, and it feels like taking the road less travelled. It's like new direction, but not necessarily knowing which direction. This kind of split energy. Choice. Which path? Which path are we going to take? And there could even be, on a bigger scale here as well, there could even be the question of, are we going to take the path of life, or are we going to take the path that's going to lead us to our own demise in many ways? And again with the star in reverse as well, because it's a major arcana energy, it does feel like kind of giving up on something. Like almost again feeling as though it's overwhelming or too big. Too big, like the energy's too big to fight it or to go against it, or like a fated situation that you can't escape. And in our environment, we have the World card here. which does talk about the ending and beginning of cycles. And interestingly, I'm seeing this same pattern here again, kind of echoed in the World card there as well. But the World card also talks about, because it's got this wreath around it here, which was always seen as a sign of victory, like a crowning, a victorious, and also like a horseshoe in some ways as well. And a horseshoe was always seen as being a lucky symbol. And there is a kind of balance and poise in that card as well, as if we do know that we're leaving the past behind and we're heading into this new future. But there may be this feeling of reluctance as well with this Four of Cups here. Of not being sure, not being certain, because in some ways we're kind of, you know, we're leaving all of what we are used to, what we know. And we are being asked, or we're going to have to, walk this road that is less travelled, that we haven't been down before. So it's like taking a new path, a new direction, something completely different is how it's coming through here. But the World also talks about success, because it talks about reaching a successful ending. Like the ending, again, cycles, the ending of a cycle. And if you look here as well, there is this kind of illumination down here. She's kind of illuminated, like being lit up. There's my cat. What are you doing? You're going to jump on my cards, aren't you? Because that's what you do. Yes, of course you do. You're a good girl. So in our hopes and our fears, we have the Nine of Cups in reverse, which for me is kind of similar to this energy here as well, because the Nine of Cups is our wish fulfillment. But this is the major arcana kind of side of it, and this is the minor arcana. But it does talk about wanting our wishes fulfilled, but in reverse it's kind of, again, that giving up, that kind of like, well, it's not going to happen. We've reached a point of kind of feeling as though we're just going to have to make the best of things. It feels like just make the best of what comes, because we don't know what's coming. So we're just going to have to make the best of a bad situation, of something that, you know, we should be celebrating and enjoying, but because it's in reverse, we're not going to be feeling very celebratory. But it is a hope and a fear, so it's not a definite outcome. But what we do have as an outcome is the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is talking about quick action, quick forward movement. Although it is in reverse again, there is this sense of things are going to start moving forward. But the thing I find most interesting about this knight is the fact that his sword is literally kind of making a star here, which kind of fits with this star energy here as well. This kind of searching for something, searching for truth, searching for answers, because the knights are seen as messengers. And there's also a bird, I think, in that tree as well. Yeah, it looks like a bird of prey up there. Which is also interesting, because I was talking earlier in my astrology reading about how all the energy at this moment is going to be affecting the wildlife, and is affecting the wildlife, and how animals are going through some odd behavior, and particularly birds, because this Aquarius new moon is so intense and so supercharged, because Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, has got 6 other energies, or actually 7 other energies that are all attached to it at this time. So it's like a supercharged new moon energy. So I feel as though this night kind of represents that. But again, there's this kind of feeling of like feeling a bit stuck in ourselves. But wanting answers, wanting some truth. But also feeling as though we're not getting it, we're not being told it. Move my cards over because my cat has decided she's going to sit right in the way, as she does. Right, yes, thank you, Lotus. So let's see what we have here. Confirmation energy. Oh, and on the bottom of the deck, before I forget, very interestingly, we have another major arcana card in reverse. We have the Fool energy here, also in reverse, as I was saying. So the Fool energy literally comes after the end of the World energy here, because the Fool is the unnumbered first card of the major arcana. Straight after the World, it's like starting a new journey, starting a new beginning. But again, it's in reverse, so there is this feeling of like, of it's not happening, that nothing's changing, that we can't see the change, we can't see it, so we don't believe it, is kind of how it's coming through here. And I was kind of getting that with this as well, that because we're not seeing or hearing the truth, we're not aware of things that are going on. Like I was saying, like I was drawn to what's going on behind. It's like the eyes kind of, the attention is on this sword here, which is kind of, because it's in reverse, it's, the sword is upright. So it's kind of talking almost like being at, how can I put it? Like quarrelsome, argumentative kind of energy, demanding attention kind of energy is also what's coming through with that upright sword. But it's kind of grabbing the attention. It's grabbing the attention. The sword is the thing that's grabbing the attention, but behind the sword there's all this other stuff going on. So it's kind of saying to me that there's something that is kind of keeping our attention focused on something other than what's actually happening behind the scenes. And I also see that as his sword as well there, which is interesting, because this is also in reverse. So again, it's kind of like behind the scenes, things are changing behind the scenes, but it's almost like distraction. This is all distraction for what's actually happening. And this is the energy that's moving in. And my cat is sitting right in the middle of the table, right on top of my cards. Thank you, Lotus. Yes. Hey. Hey. Lotus. Thank you. Good girl. Yes, I know. So over the top of the energy in the middle of the reading, the focus point of the reading, with the Tower and the Four of Cups. I'm going to sit back there, are you, Lotus? We have the Empress energy. Again, it's in reverse. So when the Empress energy is upright, it's talking about knowing how our value, basically, knowing our own value, knowing our own worth, understanding that we are important, that we are worthy. And when she's in reverse, it's kind of like we've lost sight of that. Again, due to this kind of energy of restriction and being kind of like worn down, and but there is, again, there's this breakthrough, and it's interesting because I'm kind of seeing that Empress energy in kind of the same way as that Tower card. There's a similarity there. It's almost like something is breaking through, something is beginning to awaken, or yeah, break out. Also similar to the Hangman energy in a way as well, but there's this sense of, like with her hair here and this kind of flash of lightning here, there's a similarity. It's like something is getting through of the value and the importance of who we are, and the truth behind what is actually occurring at this time. Because this card kind of says to me that in the Four of Cups here, that he's not accepting what's being offered there because he doesn't believe that he's worthy, or that he has that right for happiness and to enjoy life. But something, like I said, something is breaking through. Sorry, cat's just made my nose even itchier than usual with her fluffiness. At least she's not on the table anymore. So, Hangman and the Moon. Hangman and the Moon energy. Ten of Swords, which is talking about an ending. Ten of Swords always talks about an ending. Sorry, I was just looking at this here, this kind of how all of these swords have kind of been turned into what looks like a wheel. There's a person there. You can see that his legs, he's been picked up by this bird and carried away, but he's got all these swords sticking out of him, and he kind of looks like some kind of wheel. Again, kind of cycles and timing, and but the 10 does talk about completion, about things coming to a final point. Again, cycles, and it's kind of reminding me also of this Hangman energy here. There's a real similarity. I don't know if you can see that energy there. If I put them together, you can see that there's this kind of similarity between those energies. And maybe that's what we're getting to kind of realize with this Hangman energy, this realization this new perception, this awakening again, because the Hangman does talk about kind of awakening from our, I don't want to use the word stupidity, but from our ignorance maybe, from our unawareness. And again, going back to kind of how I see all these swords at this time, it's almost like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, when's it going to stop? You know, 5, 6, 7, how many more do they want us to take before they can kind of justify all of this? And will they ever be able to justify all of this? Because this is kind of how it's coming through for me. Like with this bird as well, this bird with these kind of red wings, like a warning even. But again, I was talking about the birds in my astrology reading, and how birds are kind of like, I feel, being affected at this time. So it's kind of like the bird is almost like carrying him away from danger. It's kind of how it feels. Again, that could be our own mind. Birds kind of relate to the air element, the thinking, because they're winged creatures, they fly. And they can represent the mind for that, in that respect as well. So, oh, we've got a few different energies come out there. So the 8 of Chalices, the 6 of Wands, the King of Pentacles in reverse, and the 4 of Wands. So the 8 of Chalices is kind of in a way similar in this deck, this card, to the 8 of Swords here, because there's a lot of confusion around this person. And he's also got this chain in his hand as well here, like he's chained to something, bound to something. I don't know if you can see that. It's very, very, very small out there. That's the chain that he's got in his hand. And his kind of demeanour is one of kind of like defeat. Is kind of how it's coming through here. Like defeated, overall defeated, like can't see a way out of all of this nightmarish kind of energy. And it's interesting that it's chalices, because chalices relates to cups, which is emotions, which usually would be shown as water and kind of blue, I would imagine. But in this, it's very red and it looks very fiery as well. But there's also a kind of sense of being consumed by something here. But there's this general sense of being trapped with the 8 of Swords and the 8 of Chalices, chained to something, trapped, bound, not being able to push beyond, not feeling like you even have that right, almost like giving up on something, giving up our rights, And then we have the Six of Wands, which talks about leaving a situation behind. Which could be leaving this Eight of Chalice energy here as well, coming out of that state of confusion, moving forward into the light here, fight like out of the tunnel, out of the darkness, into the light. Into this new energy. Again, this is what's in the past, what we're coming out of. And we have the King of Pentacles in reverse as well, which I find this a really interesting card, actually, the King of Pentacles, because when he's upright, it's like he's riding on this bull, and he's kind of like, I see him as kind of coming in, charging into a situation, being fully in control of the situation. He's kind of doing acrobats there, so he's got to be in charge, he's got to be in control. But when he's in the reverse, it's like he's having to carry the bull on his shoulders. It's like a heavy, heavy weight, and it kind of feels like tradition, because Taurus is a very traditional, fixed energy. And Uranus, which is that kind of breakthrough energy, or the Tower energy in many ways as well, the lightning, the breakthrough, the freedom, and kind of breaking out of energy. Uranus is in Taurus at this time, so there's also this kind of changing of that very stable, but also, because this is very unstable energy, the Tower, very unstable. It's like not having anywhere to have a safe footing. When the Tower comes in, it kind of like literally can sweep your life along before you're even aware of, by the time that energy ends, you've gone kind of like from one situation in your life and you've kind of been swept away into a totally different one that you were completely unprepared for. So that's kind of how it's coming through for me, that this is the kind of traditional, heavy, very earthbound 3D realm energy that we're so used to living in. It's like normality is how it's coming through. This, if you go back to, like, you know, people were talking about going back to normal, I see that as this bull, literally, like this would be going back to the normal, because it's very fixed. Taurus likes things to be the way they understand them to be, if you know what I mean. It's like it's always been like this, and Taurians find it very difficult to kind of deal with changes. They feel like the kind of the rug's been pulled out from under their feet, which again is that kind of Tower energy, which we're all kind of collectively in at this time. And so, yeah, again, if you look at his face in that picture, it feels as though he's literally like Atlas, kind of holding the world on his shoulders. And lastly, we have the Four of Wands, which is talking about that sense of bringing things together, but in a new way of bringing things together. For me, I kind of see this card as it's seen as the celebratory card. A lot of people see it as the kind of leveling up in a relationship card, going to another level on something. And here I'm kind of seeing it as bringing kind of tribal energy in a way, joining kind of things coming together that maybe wouldn't have been able to come together had this past energy not have happened. There is a kind of sense of new stability coming from the Four of Wands. An achievement. Support as well is what's coming through there. A kind of supportive energy. A new sense of supporting each other. Possibly also community being built out of it. Which again is this Aquarian energy that we're moving into. So the King of Wands, in our deep subconscious, the root energy, what we're not so aware of, what's buried underneath, is this kind of suppressed, oppressed, and could even be depressed as well, because when creatively we can't express, we can become very depressed in ourselves. If that fire energy is not allowed to be released, it can go very inwardly. And we have the Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands and the King of Wands together. A very magnetic couple. So it's basically the masculine and the feminine. And what I'm seeing here is kind of the feminine coming out on top, because she's upright here. She's more in control in a way. It feels like she's more, it's that creative expression coming out, but it's coming out more through feminine type of energy than it is through the masculine energy at this time. There's kind of a shift of energies. Or this Venus retrograde that we're going through, or have been through, should I say, actually has already ended on the 29th of January. But yeah, there's this kind of creative surge. This is what I feel like when I was talking about this King of Wands energy that's kind of suppressed within us here. It's been held back and held down and not been allowed to kind of live our lives as we've wanted to live it. It's like the Queen of Wands, whether it's the energy as a feminine energy, but it's like it is that expression coming through. It's like releasing that expression of this creative energy. And it's also kind of reminding me of the, I don't know why it's reminding me of the tiger, year of the tiger, which we're moving into, because it's the water tiger that we're moving into. But the tiger, it's almost, there's something almost similar to that kind of like energy of a cat, like when a cat kind of coils up before it springs on something, before it, you know, before it leaps on something, it kind of coils up and kind of contains all that energy within itself, kind of building it up in order to be able to push itself forward. That's kind of how that's coming through. But there's a lot of fire and a lot of passion and a lot of drive, and I feel as though that's kind of what's really going to, or is already, because this is happening on the deep subconscious level as well. So we are already kind of tuning into that need to release that pent up. And it can be anger as well, particularly when it's in reverse with the King of Wands. It can be a very kind of like determined but also angry energy as well. Okay, so the Three of Swords over the top of the Ace of Swords. Three of Swords is never a nice card. It's never a particularly nice energy, and it's what we're moving into. And it kind of makes sense because it is a card of heartbreak and heartache, and I feel as though we're going to move into that energy when we kind of realise what has actually been going on behind the scenes, when the truth comes out. It's like if you look here, there's three swords kind of impaling this deer that's laying there on the ground. Deeply wounded. And it can be a card of betrayal, the Three of Swords. It can be a card of feeling like we've been betrayed. Which I feel we are going to get to that point where we realise that we have been betrayed, and then we are all going to feel as though we've kind of, you know, been stabbed in the heart. And some are going to feel it more than others. It is not an easy energy, the Three of Swords. But it is, at the same time, it is a cathartic energy in the sense that you finally know the truth. You finally understand what has actually been taking place. Because in reverse, the Ace of Swords can also talk about lies and deceit. And so can the Three of Swords as well. Lies and deceit that have kind of come to cause the wounding, if you like. But there is on this deer's antler a very small red butterfly there, and the butterfly talks about kind of a transformational energy, and I feel as though that's the kind of the catharticism of a situation, of when you kind of finally know the truth. It's like no longer being clouded or confused by things, like with this energy here, confused, clouded, and kind of like even blinded by things as well, with this Eight of Swords. By the fear and the kind of driven narrative, because Swords is all about communication. It's all about the narrative, what we hear, what we speak, what we read, all those kind of mind connected situations. So there is this kind of cathartic but painful situation coming up. And like I say, it will be cathartic because we are finally going to realise the truth, or hear the truth, or know the truth, or kind of realise that we've been lied to and that things are not as they appeared. And so we have the Seven of Wands over the top of this star energy in reverse, and this Two of Wands energy here. And this is an interesting Seven of Wands as well. I always find this card quite interesting because it's kind of leaping. He's kind of leaping across from one pole to the next. And I kind of feel as though he's trying to make his way back to the bank here, trying to find the safest route of how to get out of this kind of deep water and back to the bank. But there's also a kind of a sense of like, if you go down the wrong path, so to speak, like with this Two of Wands here, of this decision of having to take a path, which path you're going to take. It feels like one path could be more, or is more dangerous, or more difficult. And also the sense of like, you know, can you get back to that safety? Because Seven of Wands is often about defending ourselves, standing up for who we are, having to kind of fight off other people's opinions, beliefs that may not be the same as our own. Again, it feels like that similar kind of walking the road less travelled. It may be the harder path, but it may at the end also be more rewarding. It may also be more of a kind of a lonelier path as well, that some of us have had to walk and are still feeling like we're walking. But that was our kind of, even though it was difficult, it has been this kind of destiny, this fated journey that we've had to take. But not everybody is going to take the same path. And so we are going to have to, there is going to be this division that is, I mean, there already is this division, and it's already becoming more and more and more clear as we get further along the path, how kind of much the division is happening here. And we have the Eight of Pentacles with the World, which I feel is a really lovely energy actually, because it's kind of saying that there's success and completion here, and growth, that we've leveled up, that we've grown through this cycle. We are growing. If you see here, she's kind of watering these flowers that are bursting into bloom. So there's like a, it feels like kind of reward in a way. Success. But the Eight of Pentacles can also be about kind of starting out anew, or kind of putting our time and our energy and our effort into a project. Again, I'm getting community coming through here. Like not being alone is what's coming through with all those flowers. Again, kind of finding tribe, finding those that kind of resonate on the same level. Building, growing things together. Success, like a sense of success, achievement. It's not a final success because it's the 8, it's not the 10, but it's like getting very close. I'm not taking all of them. No, that's far too many. Not taking half a pack of cards and reading them, thank you very much. So the 9 of Cups in reverse, in our hopes and our fears. Again, it just feels like that energy of non-enjoyment, how can I put it? Take it out for them. Yeah, kind of wish fulfillment not being fulfilled. What we want, what we're looking for, not happening. Our happiness not happening. But again, that is in our hopes and our fears. We have the 6 of Swords again, because we have the 6 of Swords. Where do we have the 6 of Swords? And I've seen it already. Oh no, it's the 6 of Wands. Sorry, 6 of Wands, the 6 of Swords. I don't know why I thought that had come out already. So the 6 of Swords is a card of, for me, it's kind of building bridges between things in order, in this deck anyway, in order to be able to get from one side to the other. It's leaving behind. Again, there's these 2 butterflies in the middle of that bridge, kind of. Which is interesting, because in a way it's kind of saying that, you know, even though that bridge is built, these butterflies don't really need it. But the bridge is built of swords, and the swords are kind of saying to me, because it's a 6, it's kind of to do with moving away from difficult situations, which it has got a very strong similar feeling with this 6 of Wands here, as I was saying earlier, about moving out of the darkness and into the light here, or trying to find that light and move towards it. 6 of Wands is often seen as a card of victory, of recognition, but I don't get that so much with this particular deck. But yeah, this one, the 6 of Swords here, I feel as though it is to do with building bridges between the past and the future, but it is in reverse. Again, hopes and fears. Trying to connect things that maybe no longer connect together, and having to kind of just walk away from maybe something that is no longer the dream that we had, that we thought we had, but it is no longer the same dream, that our hopes and our desires have changed. We've changed. We've transformed. We no longer need this bridge between the two energies, the past and the future. And then we have the Emperor. We already have the Empress out as well. Again, hopes and fears. And the Emperor is also about building things. It's also about that concrete reality of life, that masculine energy. The Empress is also about being about our own self-worth and our own our own self-worth. But there's also something about the Empress as well, who is full of potential. It's like the Empress is permanently pregnant with potential. It kind of represents the earth energy, Mother Earth energy originally, which is always kind of, you know, bringing forth new life somehow, some way. It never stops. The earth never stops giving. It never stops supplying. So there is always this potential that is there. And it's the same with the Emperor as well. And the Emperor is also in reverse here. In this card, he's got the ram's head and is seen as being kind of Aryan energy. But for me, the Emperor is much more the Sun, Leo energy. Whereas Mars energy, the Aries energy, is much more the kind of commander in chief, if you like. But that's really interesting because I've never seen that before. Literally, oh my goodness, literally right the way through the centre of his head. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like one of those things that they shoot into your arm. I don't know if you can see it. Right down the centre, right from, it goes from here, like just above here, all the way down here. And it looks like, literally like a syringe. And I've never seen that before. So, Emperor energy. And I'm getting quite a kind of heavy vibe off of that one. It does feel like quite a dark energy, in fact. I mean, it is a skull's head. And there are other skulls' heads around it as well. In the corner, there's another two down there, which are coming through as kind of representing that energy of death, of the kind of mortality of life, if you like. But the Emperor is about building, create like concrete creation. But I'm also seeing this as being kind of, this bit here of being sucked into this kind of, it looks like this kind of energy here, like a black hole or something, like something again kind of opening up, sucking the life force. That's how that's coming through. It's not a particularly nice energy. And we do have the Five of Pentacles here as well, which is kind of something, somebody being left out in the cold, somebody being left on the wrong side of something, not being included into something, not being given what they need, just being left to fend for themselves. And not doing very well, not coping. Is how it's coming through there. There's this whole thing with our hopes and our fears, which feels quite dark and quite kind of, quite heavy energy. And we finish it off with the Nine of Chalices, which is how we started it at the very beginning, and they are both in reverse. Which is quite wacky. So it's like going through this journey. Yeah, it feels kind of difficult and harsh energy, harsh lessons. Feeling very alone, very unsupported, very just left out to fend for yourself here, or for ourselves here. Maybe putting our trust in this energy, this Emperor energy, which can also represent patriarchal energy, establishment energy. And then kind of discovering that it's not very caring. It doesn't really want to support us or help us, or yeah, there's a kind of dark, sinister kind of energy coming from that. And again, with the Nine of Chalices, it is kind of like realizing that, you know, dreams, or this feeling that, you know, our dreams and our hopes and our wishes are just that. But again, it is just dreams, it is just hopes and wishes. This is just in our hopes and wishes. It is not how things actually are. But it does feel as though things have changed along the way. And maybe, oh, that's interesting. And maybe we have kind of awoken on some level, and maybe we're kind of like wanting things to be different. With this Nine of Chalices here, we're seeing the reality of things, and we're maybe wanting things to be different, wishing that things could be a different way, or could have turned out a different way. As we have the Ace of Swords again, that's twice, And as I was saying, that with this Knight of Swords, and it's come out over the top of this Knight of Swords, and I was saying that this felt like this sword was this sword here. So it's literally come out over the top of the Knight of Swords. But it's, although it's upright, although the card itself is upright, it kind of feels as though kind of feels as though it's frozen in the ground, and I'm getting this kind of King Arthur type of energy from it, where it's kind of like, you know, you want the truth, you have to go and search for the truth, you have to do something about it, you have to find it for yourself. It's kind of not going to fall into your lap, but it's out there, and we are kind of looking and hoping that it's coming our way, if you like. But this is kind of really saying to me that it is there. This sword represents truth, knowledge, the intellect, and it's kind of, because it's kind of glowing as well. It's got this kind of glowing energy all around it. Again, it's got this very similar kind of star look to it here. If you see this bit here, for me, it's kind of coming through in this very similar star energy of kind of like, you know, destiny, and kind of almost like it's saying, I'm here, I've always been here, but you have to find me, you have to do something about it, you have to put some work into kind of, what's the word that was just coming into my head there, not just revealing it, but kind of, yeah, revealing it. Okay, we'll go with revealing it. There was something else. I'm sure there was another word. And we also have the Queen of Chalices, who has come out in reverse here as well. And interestingly, when I see the Queen of Chalices in reverse, I kind of see it as a kind of this tsunami of emotion. Like this waterfall, this great waterfall. Like when she's upright, it's interesting because it's almost like she's riding that wave of emotions, and totally like in control of the emotions, knows how she feels, is expressing her feelings, is open to her emotions and sharing her emotions. But when she's in reverse, it almost feels like this tsunami, this overwhelming kind of waterfall of emotional energy that is not controllable. Like we have no control over it. It just is. And it is linked to this Ace of Swords energy as well. I mean, the Ace of Swords has come out twice. And with this Knight of Swords as well, holding up this sword. That's kind of like 3 times in a way. And it does feel like something to do with truth. being understood, or there, waiting to be revealed. It's interesting as well, because the Queen of Chalices is about emotions. She's about our feelings and how we intuit things and how we are sensitive to situations. Whereas the Ace of Swords is very much about the mind. So it's kind of like completely different energies. It's like one is all about the head and thinking. The other one's about the heart and the feeling. So it kind of feels on some level like trying to kind of feel our emotions with our mind. Or maybe there's a need here for balance between the two, for kind of emotional intelligence. This understanding of emotional intelligence, that not everything is about the mind. So it feels as though we're going to move into a time of truth being revealed, and that truth being revealed I kind of talked about in my astrology reading as well. But again, it feels as though it's going to release this very emotional outpouring when it happens. So I haven't used these cards for absolutely ages, but when I was dowsing today as to which cards were the best ones to use for the reading, these ones were the ones it said yes. So they are crystal cards, but they're very kind of short crystal cards. So let's see what the crystal energy for this new moon in Aquarius is. So also it feels as though there's like we can get out of this situation, but it's going to take our emotional intelligence to be able to do that. It's balancing up like heart, head and heart energy, like not just thinking with the mind and not just kind of overreacting with the emotions. There is this desire, I feel, for that truth to be revealed. Okay, so we get two cards here. We have Sunstone, which is saying unleash your true power, freedom and strength. That's what I was feeling about this King of Wands energy. It's that kind of held back, needing to unleash it. And I think it is beginning to be unleashed at this time. We're seeing things happening where people are no longer holding back. And Lapis Lazuli, which is saying activate your higher mind, think clearly and use your intuition. Honestly, that is kind of perfectly summing that up. Perfectly. Activate your higher mind, think clearly and use your intuition. So it's the heart and the mind coming together. Which kind of is great confirmation for me, because I was kind of thinking, is that kind of what it's actually about, kind of thing. can you bring the heart and the mind into balance? And also speaking the truth, speaking our own truth as well, from this kind of emotional understanding. So the card that we've got here is saying fun. It says your guidance is to take time to enjoy yourself, relax and find your sense of humour. Treat things lightly. Fun brings lightness of spirit, and the most difficult situation can be eased if you see the funny side of things. So cultivate a sense of the ridiculous. How can you bring play, laughter and fun into your social life, your relationships, your work life? When you have fun, the angels rejoice, for there is nothing they love more than joy, play, humour and laughter. And the affirmation here is, I lighten up and make everything fun. Which is interesting because on the astrology reading earlier today, I got the Sandpiper Spirit Animal card, and that is also about fun as well. So it does seem to be a message here for us to kind of like just enjoy, just have fun, just to kind of, yeah, like it says, lighten up and not to allow things to be so heavy, because that's kind of how this feels here. It feels like quite this heavy, dense energy. So maybe that's our medicine, is to have fun even when things are dark and kind of difficult. Remember to have the fun that's needed. So I'm going to leave the reading there and say thank you very much to those of you who have come across and watched and listened to me. I really do appreciate you being here. And thank you for those of you who have liked my readings. And if you have enjoyed this reading, if you have got anything out of it at all, please could you thumbs it up for me, because it just helps to get more attention on my channel, which is basically what I'm trying to do, which is why all us YouTube creators say the same thing over and over again. Thumbs up our videos, because that's really what it's all about. It gets the attention and then that helps to grow the channel. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet as well, could you please do that too, as I really want to get my messages out there, grow my channel and get more, again, attention on my channel, so that people can hear my kind of take on this situation that we're all in, particularly during kind of the new moon and the full moon readings that I do, and are kind of focused on mostly at this time. Also, if you like, thank you very much to those of you who have subscribed as well. I know that I've had a few subscribers recently, new ones, so thank you very much and welcome to my channel. I really do appreciate you being here, and there is a subscribe button for those of you who may want to subscribe. Hit that subscription button. I would love you to be a part of my journey here as well. And also that bell will come up and you can decide whether or not you want to get the readings as and when I put them out. I do, like I said, all the new moon, full moon readings, and I do have a playlist as well for you. So there's no time or dates on my readings apart from the full moons and the new moons. But the other readings that I do, I give them titles. I don't give them a time or a date, because things happen all the time. Like, crap happens in people's life that can be at any time, any situation. So if you're reading a title and it kind of jumps out at you and you feel that it resonates with you, and if you watch the video and it feels like it's telling you something and you're resonating with that reading, then that is your reading at the time that you're reading it, whether or not it was like last year or year before. It's all about how you're feeling towards that reading as you're hearing it. So I think that's everything. Share my videos as well, please, if you feel like they could help other people. If you know anybody who may benefit from listening to them, then please go ahead and share them. That would be greatly appreciated as well. And I think that's everything. Comment if you want to comment, if you want to leave me a comment as well. That's always greatly appreciated and greatly received, because it's just nice to get some feedback from people out there who are listening and kind of just let me know how it is for you. Like, you know, as a reader, it's really difficult kind of sitting here and just reading for the camera, kind of just looking at myself and not kind of seeing anybody on the other side, which I have been mostly used to doing. So it would be nice to know that there are people out there. So even if it's just a short comment, please, it would be really lovely to get some input. And so with all that being said, I am going to say all the best to you for this new moon in Aquarius. Like I said, check out my astrology reading as well, because that will give you a bit more insight into what is happening on an astrological level at this time. And I'm wishing you all the best and many blessings for this Aquarius new moon. Please take care of yourselves and also take care of anybody else around you who you can at this time. Hopefully see you again soon.